5. Sleepwalking. This video begins at night. We're forced to watch on from a bedside camera as a body slowly begins to rise up and out of bed. It's a man. He approaches the camera, his movements fluid and his facial expression gleeful, which is arguably the most frightening part of the entire clip. He leaves the bedroom and heads downstairs, which we now witness from the living room camera. The man's bizarre movements continue. His right hand is raised in a rigid position, yet his gleeful smile never falters. He heads towards the back staircase and up. We wait on in anticipation to see what happens next. He emerges, descending the staircase and back into the living room. However, this time he's carrying something. A knife. He heads back into the bedroom, hovering over the bed for a few moments before seemingly waking up. He hesitates before climbing back into bed. Now I think it's safe to say the most terrifying part of this video is a thought of what could have been. What if he hadn't woken up? Would this video have ended differently? Who can say really? In at 4, Stalker. This video comes from the perspective of a nighttime stalker. He's filming outside of the house of a young woman, filming her through the windows of her home. He begins to utter concerning things, adding a warping effect for added creepiness. He says, "I found this one in the grocery store. I followed her home. It is a miraculous thing to be able to watch the ones you love undetected." He begins to get closer to the window before heading towards the back door, quietly entering her home. He wanders around briefly before we catch a glimpse of him in the mirror, wearing a frightening mask that almost resembles the pig character from Saw. Horrible. He explores the house more before heading to the front door, ringing the doorbell a few times to get the woman's attention. Then he hides, uttering, "A wonderful gift. May not be wrapped as you expect." She approaches the door, looking out in horror as she sees something burning outside. She moves out onto the porch, presumably calling the police. Shortly before the video ends, the man emerges, making animalistic growls and charging at the woman. This video is honestly purely terrifying because out of all the ones on our list, it feels the most credible and could potentially happen to anyone. No thank you. In at 2, Wheelchair. This video is simple. An unknown person is filming an abandoned warehouse / factory / farmhouse. Honestly, I'm not too sure what this place is, but it's bloody creepy regardless. He slowly walks around, capturing all of the abandoned items on camera. His movements are almost frantic, which definitely adds to the frightening feeling. Not only that, but his aggressive zooms are what nightmares are made of. Suddenly, it's nighttime, and the man is outside, amongst the trees, still filming whatever it is he's looking for. Then, in the distance, we see a wheelchair. It's facing away, and the man gets closer until we're flush against the chair. He begins to round it, and that's when we see it. A woman in the chair, white hair visible, wearing a dirty hospital gown. We see nothing else, not even the front of her, just the edge of her body, enough for us to know that whoever she isn't friendly. And finally, in at number 1, The Stranger. Now, this video made waves on the internet a few years back, and I can no longer count how many times I've seen it. All I know is, no matter how many times I watch, it just gets scarier and scarier. The video begins with someone zooming in on a dark, unmoving figure in the distance, before the camera cuts and we see a man doing some sort of parkour, if you want to call it that. He points at something and then the camera turns. The figure has emerged into the light now. He's bending down in an unnatural position, wearing a mask and watching on. Parkour man approaches him, masked man gets closer, moving more like a bird than a person. The men move away, but the masked man keeps coming. The camera then cuts. The two men are now outside of a building, once again pointing into the distance as though they see something. The masked man emerges, once again, this time standing up, dragging his feet and moving closer before charging at the men. We cut again. This time, we're inside, heading towards an elevator. They press the button, the doors open, and inside is the masked man. No thank you.
Number 5 on this list is the Paraguayan Tape. So there really isn't any given name for this, but I'm calling it the Paraguayan Tape because this footage was discovered in Paraguay several years ago. The footage only really surfaced a few years ago, but it was actually filmed way before that. This footage was taken back in 1994 by what looks to be some children. The clip itself is an amalgamation of a bunch of several second long clips that don't really make a cohesive narrative but are just super eerie. This, also coupled with the audio, makes this clip extremely scary. The audio is a bunch of screams and cries and weird noises that don't even sound human. Some people have chalked it up to being the poor recording equipment, but I really don't think so. Let's play you guys 30 seconds of this clip so you can get an idea what this thing is all about. So that's the first 30 seconds of the video, and as we can see, it's just super creepy. Also, at the end of the clip there, it looked like several teens were running to help one of their friends up off the ground. So either that friend tripped and fell, or was attacked by something, and it's tough to say. No one knows what happened to these kids who recorded this, or why they made it in the first place. Although I would wager a bet that something bad probably transpired. Everything that I've seen here looks like all the telltale signs of demonic intervention. Let's just hope that this clip wasn't actually the last documented video of these people alive. Number 4 on this list is Deep in the Woods. Back in 2006, there were 2 men who disappeared off the face of the earth. No one knew what happened to them or where they went. That picture got a lot clearer though when this video popped up. In 2007, a YouTube channel called LH posted this clip that was presumably filmed back in 2006. The video follows the exploits of these 2 young men in what the viewer is led to believe is their last moments on planet Earth. The 2 men start out by driving their car into the woods. They pass by a gate and then get to another one which they can't seem to open for some reason. They then get their flashlights and proceed into the darkness on foot. This is where it all goes to hell though. In the clip that I'm about to show you, we will see these 2 men walking through the woods and hear a loud animalistic noise. Then something will jump out at them, so fair warning. So as we can see, a creature lunged forward at the 2 men and got them running back to the car. Then the camera dropped, and presumably this was the end of our 2 lads. If we kept playing that clip, then we would have seen one more thing, which is one of the men falling before the camera and then getting dragged off. So I think it's safe to say that these 2 guys didn't make it out of this battle unscathed. What they were doing there, what this thing was, and what ultimately happened to them is all unknown though. For all we know, they got dragged back to this thing's lair and they could still be there today. Number 3 on this list is the possession. This next clip is from 2 decades ago in Portugal. The YouTuber Chills has actually covered this video before, and even he is pretty terrified of it. The video was filmed on an old camcorder back in 2001. The quality is pretty atrocious, which can be expected from an old camera. The video is centered around several young boys hanging out. It starts off with them just innocently playing, but then they end up doing something they really shouldn't have. They try to contact the dead. As we've seen time and time again, regardless of how you attempt to do this, it usually turns out pretty bad. And that's pretty much what happens here with these boys. In the clip that I'm about to show you, one of the boys gets possessed by some type of demon and falls to the ground convulsing.
Então, ai caraças, ótimo. Destino.
Nem ficou dele, nem
Merda, foste não mais, opa, sério, não mais.
não ficou dele.
Como eu foste,
Peraí, André, peraí, olha aí.
Opa, calma-se. Destino, opa, não brinques tu também, meu.
Mas é o meu, filho.
Destino.
Ainda mais gajo não
Opa, calma-se mesmo, assim. Destino.
Sustino.
Mas, opa, não, eu não meto só.
Mete gosto do caralho.
Eventually the boy gets up and he's no longer himself. His voice is not his own and the words he's saying are not the ones that he would normally say. It's clear that he's been possessed by some type of demon. Now this video of theirs is almost 40 minutes long and that possession took place at the 5-minute mark. After he gets possessed, he runs out of the home and the lights turn off. The kids are obviously super frightened and don't know what's going on. What ultimately happened to this guy and the demon that possessed him, we may never know for sure. And finally, number 1 on this list is the Paris Catacombs. The Paris Catacombs is one of the creepiest collection of tunnels in the entire world. They were built many years ago and have thousands of dead remains from people back in the day. Many people over the years have speculated on them being extremely haunted, and video footage like this definitely helps add fuel to that fire. The following footage was found on a video recorder deep in the catacombs several years ago.
It's very bizarre. These arrows point in a direction. Occasionally also, he stops to photograph roomfuls of bones, which means that he's very deep inside the catacombs. So basically, he's filming what he's seeing very deep inside the catacombs, other than the point of view shots or pictures of human bones. The catacombs for centuries.
So my dude is deep inside the catacombs, as the narrator of that clip says. All of a sudden though, things start going wrong.
Decide which way to run among all the many different corridors. He's running faster and faster and faster, deeper and deeper into the catacombs. And all of a sudden,
now we don't actually know why he started running, but he just did. Clearly something was chasing him that we can't see on the camera. This is truly all we know though. What was after him and if he managed to survive, that's anyone's guess.
Number 5, The Last Broadcast. This 1998 American horror film, written, produced, and directed by Stefan Avalos and Lance Wheeler, tells the story of a documentary filmmaker named David Lee and his investigation on the fact or fiction murders, in which got him convicted in a 1995 case, apparently with the murders of his team one night during an expedition to find the mythic Jersey Devil in the Jersey Pine Barrens. The film is shot mockumentary style and employs the found footage technique. The film is believed to be the first full-length feature film shot and edited entirely on consumer-level digital equipment. And on a budget too. I love this. I'm all here for it. Main character Lee seeks to discover the truth behind these killings while making his documentary. 4 men go to the Pine Barrens, where a psychic leads them to the apparent site. During the hunt, they broadcast a live show simultaneously via TV, internet, and amateur radio. They enter the Barrens, but only one emerges alive, as the others are brutally murdered.
The likely suspect would appear to be Stephen.
Oof, spooky. Seward, the only suspect, is then charged with the murder of his team. During his murder trial, Lee receives a box containing a damaged videotape reel, which he at first assumes is the tape from the team. With the murders caught on the tape, a blurred image of the real killer is seen, and is shocked to discover that the killer is the filmmaker himself, Lee. This is a great one. I really enjoyed this movie. It's low budget, young artists. It's a pretty good storyline too. And number 4, Man Bites Dog. Man Bites Dog is a 1992 Belgian violent comedy crime mockumentary written, produced, and directed by Remy Belval, André Bonzal, and Benoit Poulvard. I tried, sorry. Who are also the film's co-editors, cinematographers, and lead actor. The film received the André Cavins Award for the best film by the Belgian Film Critics Association, and since its release, the picture has become a cult classic, and received a rare NC-17 rating for its release in the US. Yeah, I'd up that rating to a rated R if it was me. After watching bits and pieces, I can't even say that without getting chills. Look, it's pretty disturbing stuff. Shot in black and white, it's gory, like very gory. Like if Tarantino made a gory snuff film. Yeah, I actually can't even put a clip into this because the found footage parts are way too disturbing. The film follows a crew of filmmakers following a serial killer, recording his horrific crimes for a documentary they are producing. At first though, dispassionate observers, they find themselves increasingly caught up in the chaotic and nihilistic violence, eventually becoming accomplices themselves. Ben, a witty, charismatic, and an easily enraged sadistic serial killer, takes the filmmakers and the crew to witness and watch the murders, explaining why, how, and when he chooses his victims. The viewer witnesses this grisly killings and crimes in graphic detail. The camera crew becomes more and more involved with the murders and even help Ben. During filming, 2 of Ben's crews are killed by Italian mobsters, and Ben and his crew have fun taking turns as they shoot the rival crew members while recording the entire process. Like I said, It's gory. Tons more gruesome killings, and Ben is finally arrested, but then escapes. At this point, someone takes revenge on Ben, and he finds his girlfriend and family all disturbingly murdered in revenge. The camera crew and Ben are all ambushed and shot by the rival mobsters. After the camera falls, it keeps running, and the film ends with the death and of the fleeing of the suspects. Only watch this film if you can stomach disturbing scenes. Trust me, it's pretty visual. Number 3, Creep. Creep is a 2014 American found footage psychological horror directed by Patrick Bryce and is filmed as found footage and does the genre well. Bryce portrays a videographer assigned to record an eccentric client insisting on filming numerous videos for his future unborn kid. Creep was inspired by Bryce's experiences on Craigslist. Bryce and lead actor Duplass refined the film's story during filming, which resulted in multiple versions of each scene and several alternate scenarios and endings. Struggling videographer Aaron accepts an assignment to travel to a remote cabin where he meets his client Joseph, who explains he has an inoperable brain tumor and is expected to die before his pregnant wife gives birth. With this, he wishes to have Aaron record a video diary for his unborn child, and throughout the videos, Joseph demonstrates behavior that makes Aaron a little uneasy, which leads in Joseph confessing some pretty heinous stuff to him. As an increasingly freaked out Aaron intercepts a phone call from Angela, who's actually Joseph's sister, and warns Aaron to escape. Joseph then attempts to stop Aaron, leading to with Aaron escaping. Then, at home, Aaron starts receiving items in the mail from Joseph, including a recording of Joseph digging a grave. Creepy. A DVD is then sent to Aaron offering an apology in a public setting, which Joseph then kills him from behind with an axe. Spoiler alert, Joseph, now calling himself Bill, later receives a phone call from his newest target as he places a DVD of Aaron's murder alongside recordings of his past victims. That's scary. Yeah, I saw a play about a gruesome Craigslist ad once. They can get pretty disturbing. The film is widely known as one of Netflix's best found footage genre movies, and there's some great jump scares in there for you. Check it out yourselves. Number 2, UFO Abduction, the McPherson Tape. UFO Abduction, also known as the McPherson Tapes, is a 1989 American found footage sci-fi horror film written, produced, and directed by Dean Elialto. The film focuses on a family who are being terrorized by extraterrestrials during a birthday celebration. The late 80s and the early 90s were ravished by an overflow of popular paranormal genre movies and TV such as The X-Files and Unsolved Mysteries. The film begins with a brief introduction that proposes the film as legitimate and one of the strongest pieces of evidence for ETs yet. On October 8th, 1983, the Van Hees family gathers in Connecticut woods to celebrate 5-year-old sister's birthday. One of the brothers uses his handheld camera to record the night's events. The evening passes relatively eventful as the family celebrates. However, after a small power outage, the brothers walk to the neighbors to investigate, and the three eventually come across an extraterrestrial spaceship landed in the woods and are shocked to see 3 small aliens walking around.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Holy sh. Holy sh. Holy.
Yeah, that's creepy. They flee in a panic after the aliens notice them. Yeah, I would too if I saw them just walking around the forest. They return to the house and load shotguns, but are divided on whether they should remain in the house or leave. Classic horror movie move. After a while, they assume the visitors have left, but notice all their watches have stopped. They conclude the party, but are terrified as the aliens attempt to enter the house through the windows and chimney. Eric, one of the brothers, shoots and brings an alien's body inside the place and puts it in the back room. After securing the house once more and turning up the radio to block out the voices, the others finally convince Michael, another brother, to put down his camera and resume their card game. From its position across the room, the recording camera glitches and records what looks like 3 small gray aliens emerging from the back room. The tape ends as the aliens close in on the family. The film claims that the Van Hees' whereabouts are still unknown and that viewers should contact the producers if they have any information. Look, I'm the guy who wears the tinfoil hats. This is pretty good. I liked it. The footage from the woods, the small creatures, the Project Blue Book warning at the beginning of the film. It's a Sci-Fiers Friday night. Great film, and short, only an hour. And coming in at the number 1 spot, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a 2003 American horror film starring Jessica Biel and R. Lee Ermey. Its plot we're probably all familiar with if we've seen the numerous takes on this classic movie. It follows a group of young adults traveling through Texas who encounter Leatherface and his murderous family, a remake of Tobe Hooper's 1974 film and the fifth of the franchise. Erin and her boyfriend and friends are on their way to a Lynyrd Skynyrd concert in Texas. While driving through Texas, the group picks up a severely traumatized hitchhiker walking in the middle of the road. After they talk with the hitchhiker, she takes her own life with a concealed pistol. The group contacts police where they are led to an old plantation house where Thomas Hewitt is waiting, also known as Leatherface. Erin escapes and heads towards the woods, but Leatherface, armed with his chainsaw, follows each of the concert-driven friends one by one in an all-out slasher gore fest. Yeah, I watched this movie when I was 11 years old. No wonder I can't sleep at night. Erin escapes into the woods with Leatherface chasing close behind her and her friends, but she eventually injures him and halts the pursuit. Leatherface suddenly appears in the road and slashes the car with his chainsaw, but Erin manages to escape. 2 days later, 2 investigating officers are killed by Leatherface while doing a crime scene investigation of the Hewitt home, and the narrator states that this case still remains open.
Come on back here, follow me.
Yeah, that's absolutely terrifying, alright? Seems like this franchise was loosely based around a cannibalistic family in the South and actual evidence, case, and trial of Ed Gein.